Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to another week of exploring the Bible together. As we have come in this journey for the last couple of months, I want to invite you to continue in the journey as we travel with the people of Israel into captivity. This week we are going to be learning about the kings and about a number of different things. But as I always said, if you haven't watched it yet, it's in the service, it was live, but you can scroll and try to watch the children talk than we have last Sunday. You will have a better idea of what we are going to be exploring. So I am going to wait here, just pause this video and go and watch the children talk. So we were learning all that happened through the history of the people of Israel, and then we were learning that when they were bad, Jesus and God was still good. During this week, as we come to the whole story, it's a good idea to remember and to try to exercise to think about the times that we are bad and the time that God is good. As we learn through the story, we are going to learn about the kings and the two kingdoms. So one of the things that we can try to do is just try to find the map of Israel and paint the kingdom in the north in one color and the kingdom in the south in a different color. So one of the couple of things that we need to remember is like God was faithful to the people all the time, but they decided to don't follow God. And this week, the Bible verse that we are going to learn is found in the book of Kings. So, 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 56. Let's go and try to do it. 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 56. So this is what the Bible verse of the week say. Praise be to the Lord who has given rest to his people Israel just as he promised. Not one word has failed of all good promise he gave through his servant Moses. This is a long verse to try to learn, so we can try to do it in two parts. The first part we can try to learn 1 Kings chapter 8 verse 56. Praise be to the Lord who has given rest to his people Israel as he promised. So maybe you can try that part, and then the other part you can try to learn next week. No one word has failed of all good promise he gave through his servant Moses. 1 Kings chapter 8 verse 56. And hopefully with that verse we remember two big things. What are the two things that we are learning this week with that verse? Let's go and see. Number one, he has given rest to his people as he promised. God promised the people of Israel that he was going to give the land, that he was going to give it peace, and he fulfilled his promise. That's number one. Number two, none of the words that he had made and none of the promise had gone unfulfilled. Do you remember in the chat on Sunday we learned that even though people were bad and we say, oh no, God was good, woohoo, all his promise he has fulfilled. And the final promise that he had fulfilled for us is the promise of his son that was going to come and free the people. During this week is a sad week as we learn some of the people of Israel being bad and they are taken away from the land. But there is also the good news in the Bible verse that God promise are always fulfilled because he is faithful. And one day he's going to send his son Jesus Christ, and that's what we know. So all his promise will be fulfilled. The people will go back to his promise. The people will go back to the land and we will be free forever. Before we go, This is the song that we sang on Sunday, and let's try and sing it during the week and try to learn how God is faithful. The song is called God's People in God's Place. So let's sing during the week and let's try to learn a couple of more songs. I love this group, so let's sing together God's People in God's Place.
Creation, Adam and Eve and the fall, Noah, the flood and the Tower of Babel. God had a plan, he told Abraham and promised his family would be God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, 12 sons. A nation are slaves in Egyptian hot sun. But God had a plan through Moses his man. He rescued them so they could be God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. Joshua conquered the land and moved in. Judges showed that they needed a king. God had a plan through David his man. He ruled them and made them to be God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. Solomon brought wisdom and blessing, but then division, rebellion, so God punished them. He sent them away. His prophets proclaimed that one day a remnant would be God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. Jesus, everything finally revealed. The church, share the good news with the world. God made his plan before time began. When Jesus returns we will be God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing, his blessing. God's people in God's place, under his rule. They will know his blessing, his blessing,